apron a couple Fridays ago, but somebody's asking, they were looking at our aprons, but then wondering why you weren't wearing it.
Oh, well, that's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
The apron I have from Calavera Tool is, well, two things happened. The apron that was sent to me from Calavera Tool is all leather, absolutely beautiful. It's like just an amazing apron. But we also moved to Colorado, where it's colder. So if I did not have that other apron, you would see me wearing my Woodwhisperer aprons just because it's cooler. And that was the reason I didn't wear an apron in Arizona. But now that I have this really nice leather apron, I'm sorry, leather is just more comfortable than canvas material, but it also costs about 3 times as much. Right? So that's the reason why I actually find the leather more comfortable. Okay, so let's get started. Happy Friday.
I got my donkeys.
You got your donkeys on? By the way, were these donkeys courtesy of David Nichols today?
They were. Thank you, David.
So thank you, David. David was kind enough to send us a gift card for Dunkin' Donuts. He knows how to go right to our hearts.
And Taylor's Wood also sent us. Taylor, you bought the coffees yesterday.
Okay. Hey, I like this.
I know,
Are
right?
you guys buying us coffee every day? This is
nice.
Sweet. All right. So just real quick, Patreon update. We have our arbitrary goals, you know, where you set these goals that are supposed to mean something, but they're just numbers. And I don't know. It bugs me. It bugs me that we have to play that game.
It's fine.
Like, if we want to do a different version of the show, then just do it.
Well, you like...
Right?
Hey, you like goals. I like goals.
No, it works.
I set a goal.
It totally works, and it makes sense, but it's so arbitrary.
I say, if you want to do a PM show without hitting the goal, we can do that.
I don't know if this is going to come up, but...
You're going to have to make that happen.
Well, I'll make it happen. Okay, so we are at 1842, and we need to get to 2000. And then we will do the PM show. And we are getting close. I mean, we were kind of plateaued at around 17 for a while. And then Nicole made a chat room, and suddenly everything goes up higher.
It's a fun chat room. So for those that don't know, we created a Discord channel, which is a chat room. It also has voice chat in it.
Gamers should be familiar with it.
Gamers are definitely familiar with it. But it's awesome because it connects directly to Patreon. So if you're a patron, all you have to do is create a Discord login, and then you can connect it to Patreon, and then you can get into the channel easy, and you get a cool little tag. And then for our guild members, I put that in the newsletter. So if you're a guild member, you'll be getting the invitation. So yeah, so there you go.
There you go.
Woodwhisperer WoW Guild. No, but you know what I love about it? We have members.
People still play WoW?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're such a jerk sometimes. We have members, and I can see what they're playing.
Yeah.
So like for me, if I ever play a game and I'm in Discord, you'll see what games I'm playing.
Nice.
But I'm like, oh, somebody's playing WoW.
Someone asked about the ring. It's Kalo. Still wearing my Kalo ring.
Kalo.
Even though they're no longer a sponsor of the show.
No.
Get on that, Nicole.
Hey.
But I do like my Kalo ring. Okay, so the hell was I saying?
I don't know.
God, it's one of those days.
I feel very foggy.
Jeez, oh Pete's.
I think it's the weather.
It is the weather. It snowed yesterday. It's nuts here.
I'm gonna make beef stew today. It's so like.
It's very wintry.
Wintry.
Oh, Christmas is coming. Ooh. Okay, so real quick, I could just show you.
You were talking about.
Oh, Patreon goals. Damn it. Okay, so we're very close. Patreon.com/woodwhisper is where you can go to find out more about that. Kick in a few extra bucks and we'll get there. We'll meet that arbitrary goal with your help. We will get to that arbitrary number. It's very important stuff.
Oh, and 12 more days until the end of the month, if you can believe it, and you can still enter to win the Fuji Spray compressor gun. So you don't, it's not a standalone system, it connects to your compressor.
Conversion gun. We do have a question regarding that a little bit later.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the chair progress, right? I've got the seat cushion, which has been a point of contention for the last few days. Still working on the details, and I think it really comes down to forming the foam under here a little bit better. But this is where we're at. This is really awesome. I think I was a little unsure about it, and I took it inside. And there's some projects I take inside, and Nicole's like, oh, that's nice. And you can just tell she doesn't really care. But yesterday, I take this inside, or the day before, and I said, all right, here it is. You know, the cushion might change a little bit, but what do you think? She goes, I love it, which was a really good response. I was very excited about that.
I love it.
I love it. So she really likes the chair.
I do.
So,
It's very comfy too. And I like it this way.
Yeah, I think so. If you're not subscribed to this project already, you can do that. Go to the Guild website, woodwhispererguild.com, and you can get access to this build. And it's really going to be a good one in terms of teaching you how to build a chair. Yes, I could teach you how to build this chair, but my goal is to teach you how to build your own chair. And we'll give you all the tools and stuff necessary, virtual tools that is, to be able to process that information and make your own version of a chair. I'm stepping on my dollar sign
This is a
here.
mess, a mess.
Listen, this is a shop, lady. It
So
can't
the house
always.
is a mess too.
It can't always look pristine. You guys want to see what the shop looks like?
Oh my God, it's a mess.
Everybody always assumes my shop is in this like perpetual state of
I'm
cleanliness.
tripping over foam.
Foam
paper.
everywhere. I'm the mad upholsterer lately. So there's just a bunch of stuff down below the table that you can't
Down
see.
here.
But this is looking good. Look at that chair sitting on the table saw.
Hey, while you're doing all that, I'll let people know that in the Discord channel, I will be taking Friday Live questions from there as well.
Oh,
so
really?
I have it on my phone,
Jeez.
which I just love this platform because I can put it on my phone.
How many questions do you think I can answer?
Put it on my computer. It's just awesome. Well, what I would like to do is migrate over to it because it's just
that's tough.
I made custom emojis. I made a Matt Vanderlist emoji.
Well, that one's good. I do like the emojis. We'll see about that.
All right.
Okay, so here's what I want to do in the future, and I meant to mention this to you.
Yeah.
We have so many questions, and I feel like for the 35, 40 minutes that we do this show, it's a blitz of questions, and I love being able to answer those questions fairly quickly, but I feel like I'm kind of on a game show, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like rattling these answers
Yeah.
off. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I think it actually would be better for people if I answer fewer questions, but give it a little bit more time and possibly get a couple of visual aids to make it make a little more sense, right? And I do that once in a while, but I really would like to calm this down. Like, here's my list of questions pre-selected, right? So I think, I don't know, I just feel like we should condense things a little bit.
I think you're wasting time just talking about it.
I am.
When you could be.
I am, but I would like people's opinions. Do you want me to focus a little bit more on fewer questions, or do you like this shotgun approach?
I like the
Just let us know.
I like the shotgun approach.
Yeah, because you're not the one answering the questions.
Do you want me to read them?
No,
Okay.
because we got a lot and I got to read them fast. That's the problem. You see what I mean?
I like to go slow.
I know. Well, if you want to go slow, we need less questions. Fewer. Matthew Hall wrote in. He says, kind of new at making furniture. So far, I've made one project that had a drawer, and I'm going to shorten this a little bit. So the drawer was in an entry table where it was kind of wider than it was deep, and he said it would get caught up all the time as he pulled it out. And wide drawers can certainly do that, especially if it's, you know, wider than it is in depth. And he said it was just such a pain that he swore he would never do wood on wood slides again, and would only go with metal slides so that they always work. The drawer never falls out. So what he wants to know, are there benefits to wood on wood drawer slides that I'm overlooking? Maybe I was just doing something wrong. Okay, well, I think wood on wood slides is a matter of satisfaction and craftsmanship. I think when you do a really good executed slide out of wood, there's really nothing like it. It just slides like butter. It's really, really nice. And I think most of us are doing it for pride of craftsmanship. We want to say that there is no metal slide there, yet this drawer functions really, really well. But in terms of pure functionality, you just can't beat a good metal slide. I mean, that's why we use them here in the shop. I've got overextension slides that allow the drawer to come all the way out. I mean, can you imagine wooden slides in a kitchen? It wouldn't make any sense because you got to be able to get to the back of the drawer, and cobbling some wood solution together to stop the drawer from coming all the way out is kind of a pain. So, you know, there are cases where it just makes sense to go with the metal slides, but I can't really think, other than pride of craftsmanship and overall quality, I can't really think of a good justifiable reason or advantage to going with wood slides. I can only think of disadvantages. But again, pride of craftsmanship really matters to a lot of people. Also, if you have a really wide drawer, consider, instead of side slides, do a centered slide or like a centered dovetail slide. That's what I did on my chest of drawers. Big wide drawers, and those suckers are running perfect all the time. And they're not relying on the sides, they're relying on a single runner in the center of the drawer. Kai Valen says, if I already have an air compressor, do I need to consider a turbine system for spraying finish? Fuji just came out with this, and this is not a new invention. So as we talk about this gun...
But it's new for Fuji,
It's new for Fuji,
yeah.
But it's not a new invention, right? Spraying has been happening for a very long time, and turbines are the way for us to, woodworkers who have small shops, maybe have a very small compressor for, shooting a couple pins or brad nails, and you don't really have the air power to handle an HVLP conversion gun. Okay, the conversion gun takes that like crazy high pressure coming from the compressor and turns it into something that actually works for the purposes of HVLP. So up to this point, Fuji has really specialized in turbine systems, and that's basically the gun plus it's really like a vacuum cleaner running in reverse. It blows air through the tube and out the gun. And it's a self-contained system that's portable. If you get a conversion gun and you have a high-powered compressor, you can do the same thing. You're just using your compressor as the air source. So if you have a good compressor and a compressor with enough capacity, you have to look at the gun and see what its CFM requirement is, and then determine if your compressor can handle that, feeding it enough air so that it doesn't have to cycle constantly. That's bad for the compressor. And that's what Fuji is coming out with, or is already has out.
Yeah, it's out, and that's the one we're giving away.
It's a standalone gun that connects to a compressor. It's a conversion gun.
Someone in the guild group had a question about the compressor CFMs at various PSIs. I'm going to be saying a bunch of words right now that I don't understand.
Yes, a bunch of letters stringing together.
If a compressor is listed at 5.5 CFM at 90 PSI, would it be 3 times the CDFM at 30 PSI? And I actually sent that to Fuji, and they wrote me back and said, no, the CFM reading would actually be 7.2 at 40 PSI. That's just, I'm confused with all of that. What does that even mean?
Can you say all that again?
No.
I didn't catch it the first time. Look, I don't even know what the hell you just said.
The PSIs and the CFMs.
Yeah, the PSI is the actual force, the amount of air that's kind of it's pressure.
What's the PSI?
That's what I just said.
Oh.
It's pounds per square inch, right?
Okay.
It's like pressure. Cubic feet per minute, CFM, is how much air is coming out over the course of time. Okay. And the two of them relate to how this gun is going to perform.
Gotcha.
And that is my Luddite answer to that question. But let Fuji do calculations and math.
I know,
I'm
right?
not doing that. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Another great resource
they have great customer support. You should contact them.
They really do. Homestead Finishing Supplies, Jeff Jewett's website. He's got a lot of great, really high-end equipment if you're looking for good conversion guns, maybe pressure pot setups and things like that.
So Matt said in the Discord chat, basically you need a 50-gallon tank and a decent pump on it so it doesn't have to cycle a bunch. Yeah,
you want to store all this compressed air, otherwise it just has to keep turning on and on and on just to recharge.
And like what that one does when it turns on, it scares me.
But it only turns on once in a while because I have a small leak.
Right.
I got to fix that.
It's been a leak for a while.
Yeah. It's the tube I use, the hose on it. Okay, so John Sangrick says, I don't have a question, just wondering if you could do a belated Mother's Day shout out to Wendy Sangrick.
Aww.
Happy Mother's Day, Wendy Sangrick.
And all the other
mothers.
Wives
and all you mothers in a chat room right now, you know who I'm talking about.
And other mothers. Don't have to be an actual mother.
Brother from another mother.
Yeah.
And doggy moms, fur moms. Okay. Yoso's just a regular on the show. He's like my little buddy. He sits on my shoulder during the show. Oh, my little Yoso. Like Groot from Guardians.
Yeah, I am Groot.
I am Yoso.
Oh, that's such a good, fun movie.
Okay. Yoso wrote in, what's the use of the different angles in hand plane blades? I have a low angle jack plane, which works like a charm, but I see that there are different blades sold for it. I currently use the 12-degree blade, but I see other options, including 90, which seems very harsh, and you're right. Basically, when you're looking at plane blades, and this is why I like a bevel up plane, for someone like me who, is kind of using hand tools in a very strategic way in conjunction with power tools, I will sometimes have a need to address certain types of wood and certain smoothing operations that might benefit from having a different angle. So the angle is, this relates to chisels and things like that too. The angle of that bevel kind of dictates how it's going to approach the wood fibers. And depending on which wood fibers you're going into, you may want a higher or lower angle. Now, generally speaking, the low angle, what you're using right now is going to be fairly decent for just about any straight grained wood that cooperates. If you go into a figured wood that's just, difficult, right? One that doesn't like to be planed. If you bring that angle up, you're sort of inducing a little bit more of a scraping action. The low angle is one that wants to cut in and tear out. So as you bring the angle up, it scrapes a little bit more and you have potential for a cleaner cut on those really tricky, difficult woods. Go back the other way and go to an extreme low angle, and now you've got something that's pretty effective at cutting end grain. So if you have to plane end grain, bring that angle back down to a very low angle and you get better results there. So that's why the low angle jack is nice, because it's a bevel up plane, and if you have that bevel sharpened to a different degree, you have a different angle of attack as it hits the wood. So that's why it's one of my preferred blades. You can get by without all that. There are people who believe you should be able just to have one angle and you do just fine with it, and I consider them much better hand plane users than myself. But I like having different plane blades.
I like our chat.
There you go.
Little baby group.
Okay. Next one, Craig. He says, posted this in an earlier thread. Now he's got a question about miters, and specifically an install where he's trying to put where the angle of the miter on a box, let's say, wasn't 100% perfect, it wasn't dead on 90, and now he's putting molding around, and he's trying to get that molding to match up. And he mentions that he, will either make a paper template or he'll cut one and then make sure that the next piece coming in gets sized to it. A very sort of sneak up on the fit type of approach, and wants my advice for quicker ways of doing it. And I don't have that advice for him, because that's exactly the way that I would do it, is the slow, methodical way, because I don't do it that often. I mean, most of the time I try to nail dead on angles, and I'm not a custom installer, let's say, who has to constantly deal with things that are off of 90. So I don't really have a good answer for you, Craig, other than I'm in the same boat as you, buddy. Okay, let's see. Kai also wrote in and said, tell us about the children's book you're writing. Not going to do that.
No.
I was going to, and Nicole said you probably shouldn't.
I said no.
Because it's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
And we can't talk about it until it's like ready to be executed.
You gotta find the time and.
Gotta find the time, yo. Gotta take some vacation time to write it. I mean, how long can it take to write a children's book, right?
Don't demean children's books.
I'm demeaning our own method of financing the show. I like self-deprecation. It's just my thing. It's what I'm known for, Nicole.
Oh, somebody just asked, and it's a good question. Why do you like my sweet tea, but you don't put sweet in your coffee? Well,
actually, most of the time, if I'm going to drink iced tea, it's unsweetened.
Yeah, I know.
But Nicole's sweet tea is just delicious. It's a nice treat. It's not that I don't like sugar in my coffee. I actually would like a little bit of sugar. Ideally, that's how I have always
Doesn't everyone
consumed
like
it. A little sugar. Give me some sugar.
Give me some of that sweet sugar.
But when I was told that I was like pre-diabetic, I tried to cut as much extra sugar out of my diet as possible. Yeah. So I've gotten used to drinking coffee with no sugar in it. She likes tons of sugar in her coffee, way more than I would ever like in my, best case scenario. So when I go from nothing to that, it's like you're drinking water and you accidentally pick up somebody's soda. That shock to your system that you're not expecting. Now, if I sat there and kept sipping it, I might eventually get into it, but that shock was too much.
Too much.
Okay, next one is from Philip. He says, finishing question, because I know how you love those. I live in Minneapolis. The weather is finally suitable for spraying finish with my Fuji. What finishes yield the best results through the Fuji? I know enough to stay away from oils, wiping poly, Armor Seal. What do you spray with your Fuji? Well, the two things you mentioned are two things that I would not spray. I don't spray anything oil-based, be it pure oil, varnish, poly. I don't like oil-based finishes out of a spray system because, generally speaking, you get the best performance out of a HVLP system if you are dealing with a finish that dries quickly. Oils do not do that. So you have too much opportunity, especially on vertical surfaces, for things to just run. Right? But if you have a quick drying finish like a shellac, a lacquer, a water-based finish, all those things go on the surface and dry and flash off fairly quickly, and you just get better results spraying upside down, spraying vertical surfaces. So those are the types of finish I would focus on. Do you have any questions from the chat room?
I have a super chat, and I do have.
Let's do a couple questions. We just have a ton here.
Where is the frickin' super chat at?
It's under community.
Community. Oh man. Put them all over the place. There it is. There it is. Super chat. I'll just leave this open.
Yeah.
Jumble Industry says, I just wanted to say thanks. Gave up my career in advertising to start a woodworking biz that gives me money, that gives money to kids with cancer. Your videos got me started. That's amazing.
That's great to hear.
That is so cool.
Great to tie it into a charity.
Jumble Industries. I have to check out your channel.
I recognize the name.
Let's see.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he has some videos too. Cool. Oh, wait a minute. It's just playlist. Oh, no, there's a couple videos.
Curated playlists? Okay.
There's a couple videos, too. All right. The Discord chat room is keeping me very entertained.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Matt Scranton and Peter and Carl Hudson are the three, and they're just...
Carl's a troublemaker. That guy. Okay, Owen923 wrote in. He says, I just built, and this is actually from Discord, I just built a cable stair banister with a walnut handrail. What would you finish the walnut with, given that it's going to be handled pretty regularly? Man, that's one of those challenging things, like something that you know is going to get handled and you know will probably be something you want to refresh in the future. Do you go with a finish that protects it more from the outset, but might be more work to refinish in the future? Or do you go with something that doesn't protect it quite as much, but you know you could refresh it easier in the future, right? And you might have to wind up refreshing it sooner. So that's going to really come down to a personal choice. I wouldn't go I wouldn't go with an oil, like a tongue oil. Jumpy.
Sorry.
I wouldn't necessarily go with like a tongue oil or a linseed oil because it's just going to constantly absorb the oils and the dirt from people's hands. So I do think you should go with some kind of a finish. But if you want to stay on that lighter duty side, go with something like a Danish oil, right? That's a nice oil varnish blend. You get a little protection from the varnish, but you also have a surface that if and when you go to refinish it or refresh it, give it a light sanding, wipe it down, and then wipe on a fresh coat of your Danish oil and you're good to go. You know, even something like Waterlocks is a good option for that too. Just a couple of coats and refresh it with a new coat every couple of years. But you could go all the way to the other end of the spectrum and just go with a polyurethane or something very fairly thick finish that protects it, and as long as it's not getting abused, it'll look good for a really long time and be cleanable and repel dust and fingerprints and all that stuff. Okay?
Okay.
Next one. Sorry. Joseph, I'm building a mahogany coffee table that'll go outside. Is it? No, I don't think so.
No?
It sits on our covered patio, so no direct exposure to rain, very little direct sunlight in the morning for a couple of hours. Am I crazy for thinking an application of poly, like I do indoors, would do all right in this situation? No, I don't think you're crazy, but I think you want to stack the cards in your favor, Joseph. Instead of just an indoor polyurethane, look for a marine varnish. You know, Epiphanes is a great choice. Something like that is meant to, it's got a high solids count and it is also fairly flexible as a resin. So once everything cures, you actually have something on a surface that will flex, and even though you aren't getting direct exposure, it is still outside. So it's going to have, it's going to go with whatever humidity and temperature conditions are occurring outdoors, it'll still experience those, which means the wood is flexing and moving. So you need a finish that moves with it. So I would definitely recommend, sure, go for a poly, even dilute it and wipe it on, but make sure it's an outdoor formulation. Don
Burer just did a super chat and wants to know, how is the Triton Fauxmino Domino and
Fauxmino. Faux, like F-A-U-X, faux, Fauxmino. Domino, okay. It's still in the box. I know someone asked me, would you show it on Friday Live? I don't want to do it disjustice by, approaching it with no information and making myself look like a fool and probably making the tool look bad because of me. So I still want to get to know it. I am focused on this chair build, but I will be taking the tool out and playing with it. And I don't expect it to blow my mind. I just am curious if the point and shoot sort of aspects of the Domino that make it so great, can I get some of that love out of that Triton tool for significantly less money? It's still not cheap, but it's a lot less. And the only reason I did this is because people have been asking me about that.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know is the answer, because I haven't touched the tool. So this is actually the first Triton tool to make it into the shop.
Cool.
Actually, the first Triton tool that I had experience with?
What?
Cremona. Think about that one for a while. Okay. Tell you, he comes up in every show. I love it.
Did someone spike my coffee? Why? Because I'm laughing?
Okay. I'm just starting, this is from B. Dowser. I'm starting to build my clamp collection. What would you say is your most commonly used size of parallel clamp? I would say the 24 inchers. These guys. These are kind of the ideal length for most projects. Within 24 inches, you could do panels this way. I really like having the 12-inch size, but those are a luxury. So if you have a lot of small things that you're trying to clamp together that fit within that, they're just light. The bigger these are, the more unwieldy they are, and are kind of a pain in the butt because of their size and weight. So I like the smaller ones, but if I'm looking for the best bang for the buck, I'm probably going to go with either the 24 or what's the next size up, the 40?
It's amazing how clamps, I think, come up in every single episode.
So yeah, I would say somewhere in the 24, the 32, the 40, in that range, you have a more versatile clamp. Now keep in mind, the longer it is, the more it can do. But the longer it is, the more unwieldy it is, and difficult it is to move around. So you have to balance convenience with its versatility. But for me, I tend to reach for these most often. But certainly there are times where the project exceeds the capacity of a 24.
M. Brooks wants to know, does the finishing guild project, I'm guessing simple varnish finish, offer much more detail than the content on the free side, I'm saying, or better off selecting a different project?
I would select a different project. I mean, if you've got the gist of it and you can successfully apply a wiping varnish finish based on the info you've gotten from those videos, why buy a dedicated video to it? Honestly, that video is due for an update because I do things a little bit differently now, but it's still all very valid information. But I really focus in on it, and I don't think I've ever spent in any video that much time discussing those details. Now in the guild, some of the projects in the guild, I do spend almost as much time on the finish in a project-specific scenario. I never let the finish go as just like, okay, so I applied a couple coats and then voila, there it is. I always go through the finishing process, and it's not always a wiping varnish finish, but I will detail that out. So I honestly think you get more bang for the buck if you find a project you like and buy that instead of just focusing on the finishing video. Okay, so this is interesting. The Woodworker says, with so many different events being held each year, which would you attend if you could only choose one? Woodworking in America, Fine Woodworking Live, or Handworks? And if I'm not mistaken, Handworks is happening today.
Yeah.
A bunch of smelly men are gathering together in a barn.
There might be women in there.
There could be a few good-smelling women.
They're probably evening.
They're the air fresheners wafting through the sea of stank from the men, right? Okay, so Handworks is happening right now. I think you're talking about 3 very different personality conferences. They're very interesting. So you got Woodworking in America, which is Popular Woodworking's conference, Fine Woodworking Live, clearly, Fine Woodworking, and then Handworks, which is sort of an independent creation that I don't know exactly who's in charge of it, but you always see Schwarz referenced as part of like one of the core people involved in it, and I wish I knew exactly who the names were, the people who run the thing. But here's the thing. I like Woodworking in America, and I'm most comfortable there because I've gone so many times. They were one of the first ones, if not the first, to sort of branch out and do this as a magazine-sponsored event. And then everyone else said, hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that too. Because there's also Weekend with Wood. And this is hard. I think it's, do you want to go for learning? These are the things to ask yourself. Are you there to learn, or are you there to socialize? Okay, because that could change what you do, and whoever's going to these events and you want to see that person or those people, that's the one you want to go to. What do you want to learn when you're there? Do you actually want to dig in and sit in on classes, and do you expect to get a little bit of hands-on? Are you going there to buy stuff, right? So you have to look at each of these events and determine who has a marketplace floor? Is there stuff I could buy at that event? And then also, what type of woodworking do you like to do? If you are more focused on hand tools, and that's really that's the stuff that excites you, hands down, I think you're going to probably want to go to Handworks. Okay, so overall, if I had to choose based on my style of woodworking, at this point, keep in mind I've gone to Woodworking in America like a ton of times. So this might
2.
Yeah, like 3 or 4.
3? 4?
Oh, girlfriend,
maybe. I don't
come
know.
on, we go way back with Woodworking in America. I would honestly say, and this might sound a little bit weird, but I would go to Fine Woodworking Live. From what I've seen there, the quality of instruction, the focus on the instructional content is what I think I would want out of it. But it would be a pretty close second to that is Handworks, because I really respect a lot of this stuff. Even though I'm not a big hand tool woodworker, I like the people that are representing at those events at Handworks, and it just looks like it's a total blast. And even though Woodworking in America is the one I've gone to the most, I find that to be a mostly social event. And I'm not a social guy. I generally don't like people. So I genuinely do not like people. So
I think it's talking to a camera.
That's why I stay in my shop and talk to a camera. You guys think I'm very friendly, but the reality is I just like being alone. But seriously, Woodworking in America has sort of become mostly a social function for me. And I really would like to get to find Woodworking live one of these days, because I think they have a very strong educational focus. Not that Woodworking in America doesn't,
right?
You know, but I just feel like there's something more that I might be able to get personally out of Fine Woodworking Live.
Switzer's Auto Sales and Performance is getting ready to purchase the Green Adirondack chair. Would you use the same finishing method as the table you just restored?
You could.
Yeah.
You definitely could. I'm doing a lot of experimentation.
You're going to need to refinish those anyway, and that will go in. That's the cool thing about the Guild and those projects is updates come out. So when he does those chairs, he'll
at the end of that series, I finished the 2 chairs with 2 different products. I think one was Sicken Cetal, and that is a very thick pigmented film finish. And then the other chair I finished with teak oil. And they have been abused and have sat outside and just haven't, again, like the table, I didn't pay any attention to them because I'm terrible like that. So yes, I will probably go back and reevaluate what kind of finish I want to use on those. But the difference here is the mahogany on those 2 projects, the wood itself has held up way better than the Western red cedar of that table. So that's also something to think about, is the wood you start with has a huge impact on how well this thing can survive, because I'm actually really impressed at how good those chairs have held up. I don't think I'm going to have a ton of repair work. It just needs to be sanded and refreshed.
Except for the damage that those guys did.
But that's physical damage from some moron who stepped on it and dropped
cracked
something on
it. Selbane did a super chat for us. Super chat. Building a, I just lost it. 11, what is that?
Building an 11/9 inch elm box. I don't know what that means.
And the pieces cupped so the miter won't come together. Should I separate the top from the bottom before gluing up to reduce the cup? So the miter doesn't go together.
Thanks, Nicole. Thank you for the clarification.
I'm giving you some illustrations, see?
Yes, I don't know. I need to see, like, that's a visual question. I need to see what the structure of this thing is.
See, that's where the chat would be really cool, because they could
post a picture.
They could post a picture in the chat.
But I would say if you have an option to do something to reduce a cup that might help these miters come together, do it.
Peter says 11/9 is my guess.
11/9.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, that's probably.
But yes, if it's possible to do that, do it. I mean, the flatter things are, the better chance you have of getting these miters to come together.
They won't come together.
The miters aren't coming together, Nicole. Or just get a nice can of Timbermate and go to town. Okay, got a couple more minutes left.
But if it's a lot of cup, you can't like have a gap of Timbermate in that.
Oh yes, you can.
It's gonna not look so nice.
No, I didn't say it's gonna look nice. I said you could do it.
All right. Do you have more questions here?
Nope, I'm done.
Oh, we have some questions over here. I'm gathering them. And if you are in the Discord chat channel, like these goobers are, you can
bunch of goobers.
Send me a question if you want to. Let's see. We have Matt Chavez. Do you need blotch control for maple, like Charles Neal's blotch control?
Your hair is lovely.
Thank you.
If you want to control the blotch, generally speaking with maple, the only time you're going to have to really worry about it, at least in my opinion, is if you're staining. So if you want to stain that maple, it has potential to get blotchy. Then you do want to incorporate some level of blotch control. If you're just doing a clear coat on it, you know, any kind of clear finish, probably not a big deal. If you're just doing an oil, maybe like a boiled linseed oil, that stuff tends to bring out the blotch a little bit, so you have to be careful with it. I would test it first and see if it's a problem, and if it is, you know, do some kind of blotch control. If not, don't worry about it. What's next?
Let's see.
Stick it in the wood. That was from Wood Talk.
Okay.
Oh, I got to publish the weekend show.
Oh, Peter S. had a suggestion when you were talking about the rapid fire questions or long. It says maybe do a pre-selected list for the 30 minutes and then 10 minutes of a flash round at the end for ad hoc questions. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. I mean,
that is kind of what we do.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is for the 30 minutes, instead of answering 10 questions, I'd rather answer 3 and spend more time on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you do fine. I think it's fine. Don't think
I just feel like I'm blowing through the stuff.
Yeah. Chris Robinson wants to know, Mark, as woodworkers, we tend to overbuild. I don't want my projects to be too heavy, yet I want them to be safe. Besides primary sources, where do you go for appropriate specs for projects?
You know, the thing is, a lot of times appropriate specs for projects, it's kind of built into what we do. Like you said, woodworkers tend to overbuild. So one of the best things I've found when I'm designing something new is to just look at someone else's plan. So let's say you're designing a chair. Go look at chairs. Go buy a plan for 10 bucks, from one of the magazines and look at what they've done with their chairs. Generally speaking, you're going to find a lot of commonality throughout the industry and different furniture types that give you the sizes of the parts, the relative sizes of the parts. And then if you get a set of plans, you start to get perspective for what people are using for the dimensions of the joinery. And you could easily adapt that to what you're doing. So we're not reinventing the wheel here. And I personally, I see no need to try to figure this stuff out. Like, let's do a bunch of tests and figure out if a 3/8 tenon is going to be stronger than a quarter. I think it's all going to be pretty strong, but I usually will refer to the people who worked hard before me. Let's utilize some of the work that they've done for us and not copy, but learn from what they've done and incorporate that information. So going and getting other plans, I think, is a really valuable way to do. Even if you don't copy the plan, you're just kind of looking at what those little specific things are and pull those into your project.
135 Pilot wants to know, do the Guild projects publish content as the build is in progress, or do I have to wait for the project to be completed to get all the content?
Well, you do have to wait till it's completed to get it all.
Yeah.
Because we release it as we go.
Yes.
So that's not an either or, that's kind of an and.
Well, and then because you're doing it as you go, you're able to do what you did last night, which was a live
Yeah, there's some cool opportunities because of it. We did a live meeting last night where I wanted people, it's kind of one of the hardest things to do as a woodworker is to open yourself up to critique. So even though the videos are still, we're working on the rails in the video series, in real time, I'm actually a couple weeks ahead of that progress. So I have a finished prototype here, and I wanted people's opinions on the design so that I can incorporate that into the video where I look at the prototype and say, here's what we're going to change. So we did an impromptu live session with the Guild members. I showed it to them, and now they're all able to submit a critique using a little form that we set up. And then I'll read those critiques and incorporate them, and try to incorporate them into the show. So every time we do a build, when it starts, it's every week we release a video, and it's nearly in real time for what I'm actually building. And Cremona's projects will work pretty much the same way. But if you come after the fact and you actually get this project later, you get the whole project right then and there.
Because it's done.
Because it's done. But buying in advance is an investment in us, and we appreciate that, and that's why you get 50% off if you buy ahead of time.
That's right.
So. Take one more question.
Well, someone in the chat said, can you post the link to the Discord channel? No, I can't, because you're going to have to either go through Patreon. You set up the connection between the Patreon and Discord, and it just will assign you to it. I let that manage it. And if you're in the Guild, then it's in the Guild that you'll get that link.
What if you're not a Guild member or a Patreon? Can you get into Discord now?
No.
So there is no generic Woodwhisperer channel?
I don't have the time to manage another community like that.
Okay, because, then that's the thing. That's what it comes down to. These communities are only as good as their moderation.
Right.
So right now, the way we did it is if you are a Patreon supporter or a Guild supporter, you can get access to those rooms,
It's a perk to those things.
It's just a perk.
Yeah.
If we did anything other than that, it would be another management nightmare for us to just let the general public in to a chat channel.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm making sure I understand what the heck we're doing here.
It would be TWW community on Facebook times a million, and in the chat. I'm still learning the channel and the software.
We might do more with it in the future, but as it stands now, we're keeping it a little bit more controlled. It's just easier for us, and it's a better service for you guys.
Yes.
Because if you go in there and there's just tons of people
spamming it and
doing, that's no fun, and no one will like it. So at least now we know we've got a little bit of a small barrier to entry.
Yeah. Let's see, do I have anything else? Oh, David McFarland wants to know any plans to have an apprentice now that you're getting settled in. I think that's a great question.
We talked about that because
we have the last apprentice that we didn't get a chance to work with.
Matthew
Barbercheck.
Steenburgen. Mary Elizabeth what?
Barbercheck.
Oh. Matthew Barbercheck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I follow him on Instagram, actually.
Yes,
he's a really good shop teacher.
He's a great shop teacher.
Yeah, so this particular project is a good candidate for
Matthew, you want to come and build some chairs?
But he needs to not be in the school year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, we're coming to the end of the school year, aren't we?
Yeah.
The problem is it takes a lot of coordination, but right now it's a shame because we are doing the perfect opportunity because I have mostly filmed this project for this chair. The prototype was the project. Now I'm going to batch out 6 chairs for the house based on changes I make here, and I'll film bits and pieces of it to do a wrap-up video and show how I batched the project out. But the project itself is mostly filmed. So what I really need is the manpower to create 6 more chairs, right? And that would be very handy to have somebody come in, who can help out.
You live in Denver?
Honestly, yeah. If someone is in a Denver area, we'll consider it. But it does take a great deal of coordination on my part to pull these things off because it means I have to be in the shop, commit to being in the shop on certain days, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Wrap this thing up? Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Oh, Retro Weld says, I feel like I'm always asking you how your tattoos are coming along. Can you show your arm if you have any new work done? He hasn't had any new work done. But he does have
I haven't. I have an appointment.
Yeah, you have an appointment.
But I'll show you my arm. I love showing my arm. So this is as far as we got. Look at the pale shoulder. You like that? Don't. The funny thing is the little zebra striping shows like it's too bright on my shoulder. But yeah, there's still some blank spots up into the pit. There's areas back here that need work, and there are it was never fully finished. So the tattoo artists will like to go over a tattoo when it's all roughed in and just finesse it, add a little bit of white here and there to contrast, and really tighten it up. And I left Arizona before I was able to do that. So the new shop I'm working with, I'm now doing, which is, I hate doing it. It's a sucky thing to do to an artist, but I have to go to someone else to say, can you adopt this tattoo as your own?
Yeah.
And please finish it for me. And I got someone who's a really talented artist who's willing to do that. So I have my appointments set up, probably 3 or 4 more sessions to finish it up. All right, is that it?
Yeah, I think
We're done. Okay, remember.
Oh, no, there is one thing.
Oh, go ahead. I got to do Patreon thanks.
Cheech, our friend Cheech.
My buddy Cheech.
He sent us a little note, and he said, it probably that letter I sent you probably didn't make much sense without the coin.
Yeah.
So we got.
Thanks, Cheech.
We got a kick-ass coin from the CIA. So
it says Cheech Intelligence Agency. Yeah, this is a CIA challenge coin. Let's
not piss Cheech off.
Hold up. There might be a listening device in this. He's bugged us.
He's bugged the shop.
Thanks, Cheech. Great. Now they're going to hear all my secrets.
This is really, really, really cool.
It is pretty cool.
Thank you.
I think it's cool if someone in the CIA watches the show.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Nothing to see here.
America. All right, so thank you to folks on Patreon who helped us out this month. This week, John Schmidt, David McFarland, Jim Rollison.
Hey, David, he just asked the question about the guild.
Nicholas Steffi, Matthew Hall, Joseph Abenheim. Hey, our buddy Jim Ashley, Chris Brown, Bradley Madajic, Trevor Stevens, and Chris Richardson. Thank you so much, everybody. So patreon.com/woodwhisperer. We're getting so close to that 2,000.
Yeah, and then we also, I think we had one that came in that we deleted because he didn't want his name said.
Oh, that's right.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are, Cheech.
That wasn't Cheech.
Chong.
Yeah, well, maybe it is Cheech.
Could have been Chong. Okay, and again, when we get to that 2,000, we will do that one show, but we have to stay at 2 or higher to keep doing the show. All right?
Oh, don't forget to choose our winner.
Winner, chicken dinner? Who's the guy who asked the question about which show we go to, if we could? It is...
The Woodworker.
The Woodworker.
He's in the chat room. You're going to make him he's uncourageable.
Uncourageable?
I don't know. What's that word?
You're making up words, Nicole. Oh, you are so uncourageable. Let's just leave it at that. That's a great place to stop the show. Thanks, everybody.
So, the woodworker.
The woodworker.
Tell me what project.
That couldn't possibly be any more generic.
I know, right?
But that's a great name. I like it.
Let me know your real name, and I'll get your
real name.
I'll get your project.
You guys want to know something? It's a little personal, but I think I'm comfortable enough to let you guys know. My feet stink.
Yeah, they do.
Really bad. I took off my shoe to check my sock. We were buying socks at Sam's Club. And Nicole's like, wanted to see how the ankle height is. Yeah, and Nicole almost passed out. It was that bad. And it turns out, as I did a little research, I'm not supposed to wear the same pair of shoes every day, like every day for like 12 hours a day. So now I'm wearing 2 pairs of sneakers. But yeah. So,
hey, you know.
Any advice on that? Let me know. You guys got stinky feet? Let me know your remedies.
Stinky feet.
Also, people, we talked about on Wood Talk, a guy who dropped a chisel on his foot. And you think about steel toe boots as like blunt injuries and very heavy things. But this is a guy who simply dropped a chisel. And think about how easy that would be to do. And you're wearing, you know, a sneaker like this. See how high I got my leg up?
Yeah.
I'm like Paul Marcel over here. Friggin' circus gymnast, Cirque du Soleil guy over here. But anyway, you just got that mesh fabric on top. And if you drop a chisel, that fabric ain't gonna stop it from going into your toe. So it did get me to think, like, are there really comfortable sneakers and work shoes that are, you know, sneaker-like that include a steel toe?
So we're getting a ton of suggestions for you. Matt
for stinky feet?
Scranton says, I've heard vinegar baths will help.
I've heard Epsom salt as well.
And then there are things called sneaker balls that you can put in there.
I got some sneaker balls for you. You know what I really expected to get?
Baby powder and topical antibiotics.
You know what I really expected?
Tell me.
This great new invention called soap and water. Like, that would be the response I would have given myself. I would have expected that from Matt Scranton.
Anthony said bathe.
There you go.
There you go.
Soap and water.
Yep.
Matt, you disappointed me without giving me a sarcastic answer.
Oh, give him time.
He's got one in the chamber, I bet. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Hope you get into the shop. It's snowing in May, so I'm going to be stuck in the shop. And come hang out with me in the Discord channel if you are doing Patreon or if you're a guild member. He shows up every once in a while, but I'm usually. I pop in and out a little bit. Wow, there's over 400. I don't even look at the stats for this show to know how many people watch. I kind of just lost track of it, but I'm seeing it right here. 409 people watching right now. That's kind of cool. 409 people. We never got those. Saw me talk about my stinky feet. Well, that and probably just, you know. Is there a podiatrist in the room? Should be working. You probably should be working. You lazy suckers. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. All right. Bye. Peace out, my friends.